Hi, I'm Jason Priestley, on the west coast of Vancouver Island, Canada, near the coastal village of Ucluelet, British Columbia. Behind me lies the open Pacific. 3,000 miles to the west lie the Hawaiian Islands, and it's almost 5,000 miles beyond the horizon to Japan. This is a very special place for me. I have roots here that bring me back here year after year to its natural wonder. The film you're about to see documents one particular treasure that this area has to offer. But it's more than just about a place. It's about people. People with dreams, and the resolve to see those dreams become reality. So join me for a walk along the edge, a walk along the Wild Pacific Trail. At the edge of the ocean, on Canada's far Pacific coast, the forces of nature inspire the force of human nature to realize a dream. One man's dream becomes everyone's privilege in the creation of a world-class walking experience, the Wild Pacific Trail. Tracing nature's way out along the border of land and sea, this passage through seemingly impenetrable rainforest is steeped in history and rich in wildlife. From its jagged headlands and pristine beaches, one may witness one of the world's most magnificent animal migrations and the ever-changing moods of the living ocean. Storms stir here and sweep across the sunken graves of ships and sailors. Calms soothe here and stretch towards the far horizon. Welcoming every age and ability of user, the close-by coastal community of Ucluelet, British Columbia, has ensured that generations to come will be walking on the edge.
Someone had to step forward. Someone had to step forward, take the bull by the horns, no matter what it took, and get this trail built. Have you ever come across a project that you just say to yourself, I just have to do this? The Wild Pacific Trail was that project for me. It quickly became apparent that this was bigger than just me and a few rugged individuals who were able to come out here and enjoy this. This was something that had to be made accessible to the whole world.
Taking its name from the local native word meaning the people with a good landing place for canoes, the coastal community of Ucluelet on Vancouver Island's west coast remains to this day a haven on the edge of the open Pacific. Bordered to the north by the Long Beach unit of Pacific Rim National Park, a 12-mile expanse of surf-swept sand that has become a mecca for surfers, hikers, and storm watchers, to the southward stretch, off a scattering archipelago of islands known as the Broken Group, a rocky retreat for kayakers, whale watchers, and scuba divers. Home territory to the tribes of the Nuu-chah-nulth for thousands of years, the area was first settled by outsiders in the late 1800s, with the village and later the district of Ucluelet growing to a population high of more than 3,000 during the 1960s to its current population of roughly 1,900 souls. For long a community that relied on the rich resources of land and sea, fishing, mining, and logging were its mainstay. But with the construction of a road in the late 1950s and the establishment of the Pacific Rim National Park in 1972, Ucluelet began to see a trickle and later a flow of visitors who came to witness elemental forces at play in one of nature's last sanctuaries. Though now offering every amenity that any traveler might require, the region still retains all the wild majesty that beckons to people from around the globe. One such traveler, so beguiled by the place that he never left, was Colorado native Jim Martin, who arrived on the coast in the summer of 1979, after having followed in the footsteps of his pioneer ancestors who had settled in the area during the early 20th century. Like many new arrivals, Martin would have to be a Jack or a Jim of many trades to make a living. Shellfish farming would earn him the nickname Oyster Jim, but his true passion was exploring the rocky labyrinth of remote headlands and hidden beaches that surrounded his new home. In doing so, the dream of creating a wild but publicly accessible trail through the rugged landscape began to crystallize.
While I was out there fishing and exploring, that's when it hit me. This is an opportunity to establish a trail along here that is just a wow. It's something that just had to be done, and I began putting the idea out there, and of course everyone liked it, but it just takes someone to step forth and do it.
Local opinion at the time for Oyster Jim's vision was far from supportive. Most felt it was just a crazy dream. The terrain was just too tough, and besides, most felt that Ucluelet would simply never be a major destination for travelers.
From my perspective, going back the years that I was mayor, when we first came on council, there was just tremendous activity in the fishing industry, running 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, forestry, lots of people employed, lots of activity. So the thinking around tourism was vague at best. And this vision that emerged came at a time when really people weren't thinking in that direction.
My first experience with the trail was Jim Martin starting to write to Macmillan Bloedel, as it then was. He was very persistent. He kept sending letters and kept sending letters. So initially I was very worried about what he was trying to do, and so we kept putting him off and saying, no, sounds like a great idea, even though maybe I didn't think so at the time. And we put him off and said, no, we're not going to let you on our land.
Undeterred, Oyster Jim embarked on what would prove to be a 20-year odyssey to make his dream a reality. As irresistible as the tides and swells that sweep the shores, the vision of the trail began to gain momentum.
Back then it's just a trail through the trees. It was not something that was supposed to be a big thing. It was just another access point. And then it blossomed. It really did turn into something incredible, and it just kept on going and going. I don't think anybody but Jim knew what it was going to be until it actually became.
Despite a web of red tape and sometimes seemingly insurmountable bureaucratic roadblocks, the way was ultimately cleared.
The forest industry shut down in Ucluelet. The fishing industry was shutting down. The town was basically caving in. And at that point I felt it was unreasonable to keep saying no. We needed some other reason for tourists to start coming to Ucluelet. So I finally said yes.
It wouldn't have been district hurdles though. I mean, it would have been intergovernmental and Crown land and federal and provincial and some First Nation, building it topography, gravel or boardwalk or a combination. I think the district's been just trying to catch up with Jim.
Construction of the first phase of the